G'day ladies and gents, I'm here to tell you a story about a little bear who sometimes gets a bit growly. But also likes to high five, the occasional time, sometimes actually a lot of the time. Inside this clunking bear is a man by the name of Torben. And the story begins at a place called Toyota. And I quote, "I went into a dealership and got absolutely screwed over, but I was still happy with what I bought. And what I bought was a
Toyota Land Cruiser VDJ 79 4.5 litre turbo diesel V8. With just over 400,000 on the clock. She's been all over Australia. For the last 8 years, she's done me well.
Now, in fact, Torbs was the first modified episode. He then reappeared in modified episode 79. In the 79 series, it was quite fitting. So do you want to tell these people here why this is a special episode of Modified?
Why? Because I was number 1, now I'm number 79.
Yeah, how did that work out? Episode 79?
Perfectly.
79 series. How did that happen? We didn't plan it at all, did we?
No, not at all.
But a fair bit has stayed the same, but also a fair bit has changed. I'd say 50-50. And I quote, "Although I have a 79 series, after seeing Ronnie's Hilux, I'm very envious of not having a sporty, curvy vehicle."
Yes, I like to watch sport. I have a few curves. But Land Cruiser looks so much tougher than a shopping trolley. Bar work hasn't changed. Very impressed with it. Not that long ago, I hit a roo pretty hard, nothing to the bar, bent the diff. I've had that replaced. That was costly, but the bar saved the car. Side rails, definitely one that I recommend is highly needed. There's plenty of times I've put this into the side of a bank or a rock wall and it's protected the actual vehicle itself. Then you got your side steps. Well, they're not rock sliders, but they've still saved the sill of my car. This is tray number 3. So the original Toyota, my first experimental one, and now a product I am pretty happy with. She's got curves, angles, lightweight aluminium, just the way it should be. Plenty of storage, and just looks sexy. In this compartment, we got jack, jumper leads, stuff to take the wheel off, bearing grease, all the essentials for any sort of roadside, bushside repairs. This compartment holds my filter system for when I'm filling up the water in the tank, the water pump for my shower, water filler, and my back sub tank. Now, every single one of these compartments has a magnetic switch for lights, so as soon as I open it, I can see. Part of this tray, we have some nice little slimline lights, and the best factor about it is it has like a BMW tracer indicator. Looks sick. And rear drawer storage. There is dust all over the car, as you can see.
Nice and clean, all my recovery gear.
And tools, shovels, gloves, everything. Easy to get to, nice quick, dust free, waterproof. Absolute killer. Still rocking the crash pad bags, still running this one as a rubbish bin, and thanks for everybody buying all the plastic bins after I mentioned them from Bunnings, so I can't get a second one. This storage box, I keep things like an extension lead, some straps, and a bush toilet. Remember to bury your deposits. And by the way, it's an on-track fab tray. Luke, you've got some amazing skills.
In darkness we find camp. Found on fourwheelingaustralia.com if you want a patch or a sticker or a t-shirt and many other things. Anyway, I quote, because we're going to talk about Torben's lights now in this story. I quote, although many people blame Ronnie for getting to camp in the dark, it's often my fault or the camera guy's fault.
Well, it's not me that gets us into camp in the darkness, and it's not the main cameraman, but it is the cameraman. It's you, the lead car who doesn't know where he's going. That's why I have so many lights. On the roof, I'm running a dual 50-inch Light Force light bar. We have the HX2s on the front, plus I'm running a little 20-inch light bar, plus little spotlights in the bull bar, and I've just recently upgraded my headlights to PVS's Demon Eyes. They look sick. They're a full blacked out headlight with these glowing white eyes.
You know, communication when you're forward driving in a convoy is a big deal. And I'm not the only one that has that thought. I quote, without communication, forward driving can be very boring. But sometimes Ronnie talks too much and I'll just switch the damn thing off.
There's no better way to shut Ronnie down. In case you're wondering at home what I'm running, I'm still running the GME XRS 370, and my second radio is very similar, which is also the XRS. My main radio is the 2.1 on the roof, which gets slightly better range than the 6.6, which might be hard to believe, but due to the 6.6 being on the bull bar, the vehicle blocks a bit of the signal, but the 2.1 on the roof has a nice throw range. And in case you're wondering, now that I'm rocking a rooftop tent again, it hasn't changed my reception because it still sticks slightly above the rooftop.
Ride in comfort. Now, this part of the story, I did question how did Torben run 35s on a 2-inch lift? It kind of works, but it scrubs a lot. And I quote, it's pretty comfortable, but sometimes a bit noisy.
Nah mate, you're wrong. It doesn't scrub anymore, maybe a little bit under maximum flex, but the new tray has fixed that. No more scrubbing. Tyres, still running the 315s, 35s, whatever you want to call them, 17-inch, Maxxis, Razors. Pecor rims, suspension-wise, still running the BP 51s, 2-inch lift, yes, 2-inch with 315s. And on the back I have the large leaf packs, which I'm going to change to parabolics. So the reason I'm going back to parabolics is I've had them before, so I know for a fact that they give me a much more comfortable ride, and believe it or not, a large brick like this, 4x2, whatever you want to call them, does actually flex a little bit, especially with parabolics. So I'm looking for the more comfortable ride. And no, I'm not going coils. I don't have a spare 20 grand to just chuck on coils.
Unquote. This next part of the story, I'm curious as well, because part of it has yet to be written, but I'm also wondering why Torben has gone back to a rooftop tent.
Welcome to my new rooftop tent. It's a Camp King Industries Australian made rooftop tent, and as you can see, it has a lot of room. I'm over 6 foot. Yes, I'm laying on an angle, but even when I'm laying end to end, there is plenty of room. I can just about stand up in here, so your average person could. It has all the insulation to stop your mold and dew and all sorts of stuff. We've had some really cold nights out here in the last couple of days, and it's done pretty well. So I'm happy to be back in a rooftop. I'm getting older, sorer, so nice comfy bed.
Well, that was interesting. So therefore, Torben is now back in a rooftop. The next part, my friends, will take us to the interior, also known as a cockpit. An interesting choice of a term for the inside of a vehicle. Let's see what Torben has to say. And I quote, "This is my
Cockpit. That's an interesting name for it. Well, sitting in here and looking out this little window, it could be classed as a cockpit. I do try to fly sometimes, but can't get the weight off the ground. So here we have the cockpit. Big 12.1 inch PVS entertainment centre, all operated by the 200 series steering wheel. Absolutely killer for the long kilometres that I do. Comfort, Schulman seats. Oh, Ronnie loves them. So I've got to be careful he doesn't unbolt them and steal them. The rest of what I've got in here, the Lynx, which operates pretty much everything, air pressure, lights, center console fridge, floor console, nice and neat, power, scan gauge, roof console. Believe it or not, I actually made this myself for under $100, and I think it looks pretty damn good. I keep my handheld for when I'm going to jump out and help out Ronnie in a sticky situation, which is quite often, so it's always ready to go. Yes.
Next up, we have what happens when you try and line up with Little Bear on a runway.
5-point harness. NOS.
You smoked me, man.
Holy dooly dude.
Well, now we're up to an interesting part of the Little Bear, the engine bay. And numerous times there may have been a fire or two in there. Maybe I'm telling the truth, maybe I'm not. We'll see what Torben quotes here. And I quote,
Alright, so I'm still rocking the same fridge, coffee machine, so nothing's really changed in there. But then it's that time of the evening, so beer o'clock. I actually think this is one of Ronnie's favourite beers. So thanks for coming along. Well, it's lucky I got plenty of them. If you want to see the rest of the setup, jump over, check out episode 79 on Modified. And it's a full rundown before we added all the extras, so it all makes sense. Thanks for joining us.
episode 1 to episode 79. That was the story of Little Bear where he is now. If you like more story time, let us know in the comments below. And here is a little wave from Torben.